1934 Ford Tudor race car found in the woods and rescued. I found this 1934 Ford Tudor with J2 painted on the door. Across the roof, weathered square letters read, "Sam Massey, the dude of the Speedway." This old car was down in a holler in Crosston, Alabama. How did I find myself down here, and what was I going to do about this old race car? My high school buddy, Travis Brown, told me about running across some old cars late one night down in these woods. Travis, a fireman, was sent out to search for an elderly man who wandered away from home. I don't know if the old man had dementia or just needed some air, but I'm thankful that my friend told me about bumping into the cars. It was late, dark, and Travis had a job to do, rescuing a man in the woods. Travis took me back to where he thought the cars were. A dead-end road, a trailer, and a three-legged dog named Scooby were the starting point. When we pulled up, we skirted around the lovable Scooby, who had the manners of a dump truck with a bent axle. He introduced himself to us when he jumped up on our car door to look in the window. He was a little intimidating at first, but we hustled out and knocked on the trailer door. That's my son Joe. On that fateful day in 2012, the homeowner welcomed us to look around. Now we just had to find the cars. A 1950 Ford business coupe sat near the trailer, covered in vines. We took careful steps as we maneuvered the steep wooded descent that bent down and around a rusty hulk of a garage that sat atop the hill next to the trailer. Travis and I avoided most of the barbed wire, briars, and discarded mattresses that coated the sloping terrain. The rattlesnakes must have been too hot to fool with us. We didn't spot nary a one. After about 15 minutes, we finally spotted some old car shapes among the sea of greenery at the base of the holler. What we found down in that holler was a 1934 Ford Tudor and a 1951 Ford Victoria, along with a mangled VW Bug. A flathead V8 engine and various car parts and scrap metal scattered on the ground. How long had all these cars and parts been down in the woods? I could only guess. 40 years, maybe longer. Who owned the race car? L.Z. Strickland, or Strick, once owned the property near the four-way intersection known as Crosston, Alabama. That land is where Strick unloaded a 34 Ford that he had wrenched on with the Massey brothers from Locust Fork, Alabama. It's possible that Strickland may have swapped the engine over to a newer body and wound up with the old 34 race car shell. He just put it down in the woods. L.Z. lived in Tarrant, but had his summer place out in the country for planting a garden. He had plans to move out there when he retired, Patricia Rawlinson said. Rawlinson was married to Strickland's son, Larry. His dad, he kept up a little garage and always had some cars to work on. The elder Strickland never got to move to the country. In 1977, at 61 years old, less than 8 months from retirement, Strickland was crushed to death while working at U.S. Pipe. His cars and tools sat untouched for decades. The cars at his summer place out in the country, forgotten. LZ's daughter-in-law gave me permission to rescue the 34 Ford. It took me 5 long years to connect with her and get written consent. The 11-acre property where the car sat never changed hands from the original family. A portion of the land has been rented for many years, but the cars remained out of sight and hard to spot. Note, always get permission to hunt for junk on someone else's property. You could be shot or arrested. Alright, Junkyard Life, trying to dig a Ford out of the woods. It's currently embedded in this giant root Been cutting, pulling, pickaxing, everything you can think of. Trying to make some progress. You don't see many of these very often out in the woods. The old brown track race car, still got the number on the door. Roof was filled in with metal. The roll bar. Flathead V8 engine was in it, and it's on the ground over there in the dirt. But anyway, got a 1960 tag out here. So I'm pulling, picking, prying. As you can see, it's a pretty good project. I thought about cutting the tree down. We're not at that point yet. Hopefully we can get it moving for too long. Trapped by time and tree roots. The old race car, lacking wheels and a rear end, had sunk into the earth and was losing a battle with nature. When I reached the point where I could saw through the tree's roots, the junk jalopy was finally free. The next obstacle, moving it. I cut the surrounding trees and jacked the car up and sat it on blocks. My dad Joe and I managed to slide it several feet using metal rails, blocks, and a chain and come along. The railroad track method was effective, but was going to take forever, unless I could get a car trailer down into the woods. The nearest navigable path was 300 yards away from the car. We decided to call the recovery team. I gathered the Junkyard Life crew, starting with Ron Kidd and Keith Lively. We needed to get the car out sooner rather than later. Money Burner is the ultimate junkyard rescue vehicle. LS 6.0 liter power, 1-ton axles, dual winches, onboard air compressor, and welding capabilities. After 2 days of chainsaw work, clearing somewhat of a path down into the holler, Lively and Money Burner navigated the steep hills, trees, stumps, and other obstacles, such as the discarded flathead Ford V8 in the leaves, with ease. The hill doesn't look steep, but trust me, it was hard to walk up and down, said Lively. The large amount of pine straw made the Jeep slide when I used the brakes. Ron Kidd and I assisted in the recovery by using a massive pulley and the winch. We were able to fish the 34 Ford between the trees. The process required pulling from a dozen different angles and directions. Lively cinched the 34's frame up in the air and dragged the vintage racer to freedom. Hang on. Look at that. See where you're at. Give me a look. Ron Kidd and the 34 Ford looked small next to Lively's Jeep. Who raced the cars? Jack and his brothers Sam and Joe raced during the late 40s and through the 1950s. All three brothers from Locust Fork, Alabama, were inducted into the Alabama Auto Racing Pioneers Hall of Fame in Talladega several years ago. J2 was Jack's number, and Joe always drove the J1 number, said Ann Massey, Joe's wife. They married in 1952. She says she never went to the races, but they often raced at the fairgrounds known as BIR, Birmingham International Raceway, in Birmingham on Sundays, and also the Iron Bowl racetrack, Crystal Springs racetrack and in Tennessee sometimes. Ann wouldn't commit as to who was the best driver of the three brothers. They raced for the fun of it, she said with a laugh. These racing pioneers are disappearing. The toughest nails men that race these dirt tracks and daredevil jalopies have disappeared. Jack was killed in an auto accident while driving an 18-wheeler in Florida in 1988. Sam succumbed to cancer in the 1990s. Joe operated a wrecker company and died in 2010. The history of Alabama auto racing is rich and many stories are left untold. This car is a testament to the racing community. Thousands of race car drivers and mechanics were born in Birmingham, Alabama. Hopefully this car can shine a light on those stories so they are not forgotten. Stay tuned. More to come.